I'm keen to talk about your pitch for the Labour leadership, what you've come on the programme, of course, to talk about. I asked Emily Thornby the same question. She didn't quite say yes. Do you think that Jeremy Corbyn was a good leader of the Labour Party?
I think he did something profoundly important for us, and I want to say this because it really matters to me, and I think we're in danger of learning the wrong lessons from what has just happened. If you cast your mind back to 2015, we were knocking on people's doors in an election, saying to people who were seeing the social fabric falling apart, who'd had 5 years of austerity, who were really, really deeply worried about the crumbling infrastructure and the chances for their children. And we were saying to people, we'll give you £3 off your energy bill and we'll give you £12 off your childcare. And it just didn't cut it. People were looking for deeper, a much more fundamental change. And at the same time, we were saying to people, if you give us permission to govern, what we'll do is we'll make sure that we don't let immigrants into this country, that we're not, we don't raise benefits too much, that we're not paying people a living wage. All of those things actually were really problematic for the Labour Party, because we are a party that has to have the courage of our convictions and wear our values on our sleeves.
So why did you just have your worst election defeat since the 1930s?
Trust. Trust was the issue, not the radicalism, not the deep and fundamental change that we were promising, but trust. It says in our constitution, Labour seeks the trust of the people to govern, and people didn't trust us. One of the things I really felt during the election was that when the Tories said get Brexit done, the more that we talked about what was happening in the NHS, the crisis in the NHS, rough sleeping, mental health, the chaos on the railways, which I know you're going to talk about in a moment, the falling apart of the bus network. Every time we talked about those things, people turned around to us and said, we agree with you, but then in order to deal with that, you've got to get Brexit done. And it gave a potency to the Tory message that we just hadn't understood.
You say that the radicalism appealed, but you won't trust it. But those things are linked, aren't they? Who wouldn't trust it because they thought it was too radical, that it was basically pie in the sky?
I'm not sure that they thought it was too radical. Certainly when we were talking to people, for example, about renationalising the railways, people felt it was a no-brainer. They couldn't believe that we hadn't been talking about it before. But what they really didn't trust us to do was to get our priorities right. When we said that we would offer free broadband, I remember somebody in Leigh saying to me, I just want a functioning bus network.